Hi, I'm Larry Lynch. I'm president of the United States Personal Chef Association, and for years I've been making pizzelles for our family, and that's the half Italian that's in me. And so a couple people said, how the heck do you do it? So that's what I'm here to do today, is share that, maybe answer a few questions, and kind of walk you through it. And yes, this is Larry, whoever that is. Can't quite see, so it's me. So anyhow, this is how I do it in our messy little kitchen. And let me preface this by saying I am not a chef. Just because I'm president of the association, my skills are business. And so anybody wants to criticize how I do this is free to do it, but what the heck. A couple things that are critical when I make pizzelles, though. And first is my pizzelle iron. I've had this for a number of years. This is like the fifth one I've had in the last 30 years. But one of the things that's critical is that I use one that's steel. I don't use those that have the non-stick surface, because sometimes you'll find that these things scratch over time when the pizzelles stick. And so I found that by having the steel pizzelle iron that it works much better. The other trick is I plug it in before I even start, because having this thing red hot is critical to not having too many of these things stick to the bottom of the pan. The next thing is the ingredients. So let me get started. I pre-measured a lot of stuff. Normally I am taking my time doing one little bit at a time, but for the sake of time and noise, I'm doing less of that. So one of the things I always start off with, it's a stick of butter. Now I happen to use fat-free butter because I'm trying to lose weight. I've discovered that it's actually low fat. Typically I am using Land O'Lakes because it's at the store and works well for me. And you'll bear with me if I have to step over there periodically. And then 1 cup of sugar. And the original recipe that I used, that I modified years ago, said that you should blend it until it's creamy or fluffy. I have yet to figure out what the heck fluffy butter. Hey Chef Mac, how you doing? Hopefully I won't embarrass everybody. I've got to figure out what fluffy sugared butter looks like, but I think I get pretty close, because so far I haven't screwed up this recipe in all these years. So bear with the noise of the KitchenAid. Love my little KitchenAid. This mixer, again, is also with us for a long time and works wonders. So let me speed it up here a bit. Any of our USPCA members who see me doing something extraordinarily stupid are welcome to send me emails and tell me I could have done it better, but until then, this works for me and everybody who gets the pizzelles. So that looks pretty good. So in this particular case, I just used this little whisk tool that comes with it. And then I switched to my favorite tool. I found this a couple of years ago at Williams-Sonoma, this little blender tool that they have for the KitchenAid. And I like it because I just kind of sit here and run this thing, and it just works until all the ingredients are in. Second thing that's most critical to me, in addition to having the best iron, is really good aniseed. Because aniseed is to me anyhow, the biggest part of making pizzelles. They're part of the licorice flavor. We're lucky enough in Orlando, we have J. Shree. They're a spice house, and they're just outside of Orlando in Groveland, Florida. The reason I like it is because if you go to the grocery store, first of all, they're fresh, they're really good, priced right. If you go to the grocery store, you're just going to see those little teeny tiny aniseed containers they have that you've got to buy 50 of them to get this done. I can go to J. Shree, get a big container of them, and I'm all set to go. But they make a big difference in the cooking of the pizzelles. So I typically take about an ounce. So I've got an ounce of the seeds here, and I put those in to get that rolling. Then the liquid. And a lot of the pizzelle recipes I've seen over time, it's a little bit bland. And so, I've pre-mixed this. It's probably the dumbest thing I've ever done, because usually I do this one step at a time. But one of the things that I've done is I've got 2 tablespoons of anise oil, which is hard to get. I found some online. Typically I'm getting it from King Arthur flour, but anise oil, and then also anise extracts. There's 4 tablespoons altogether, 2 tablespoons of each. Then two teaspoons of vanilla and 2 teaspoons of almond extract. So that's what I've got in here. And then 2 tablespoons of water as well. So I'll throw that in, pre-mixed. It looks a heck of a lot uglier doing it that way than the way I normally do, but it's mixing up, so that's okay. And by the way, always make sure I get everything to room temperature before I start throwing it in here, because it does make a difference in the mixing. The next thing we have is the zest of about a half of a lemon. Easy to do, a little zesting tool. Try not to leave your fingers as part of what you're zesting. I've had a habit of doing that more than a few times and starting all over again. But that's just a little bit of a kick to the pizzelles, and for me makes a big difference. Now again, not wanting to overwhelm the taste of the cookies, but always adding a little something extra to it, I throw in a little splash of amaretto. Just enough to be dangerous. And between the anise oil, the anise extract, the seed, and the amaretto, you really got a good pungent, but I'm also making a lot, a good pungent licorice taste, but it doesn't seem to overwhelm the cookie at all. Next thing is eggs. Again, I make a big batch. It was one of the things we did. We started making these for us, but what we've done over time is we started making them for all of our friends because I'm too cheap to buy Christmas presents. And so I make batches of these starting around Thanksgiving and then don't stop until probably about 3 days after Christmas. So 6 eggs altogether. We'll throw them in. I do them one at a time. And this is a case where I didn't pre-make anything. So we'll do the 6 eggs. Just large eggs, no extra large eggs, just plain old large eggs work fine. You'll find the mixture gets very liquidy at this point. If that's a word. It may not be. I don't know. Works for me. And one more. And somehow, after all these years, I've managed to do this without leaving eggshells in the mix. Or at least no one's ever told me they found an eggshell in the mix. That really covers it. It's your sugar. Now, we're not done yet, but your sugar, your butter, your eggs, your aniseed, don't forget the J3 aniseed, a little bit of amaretto, anise oil, anise extract, vanilla, and almond, and a little bit of water, and you've got your liquid. So next big thing is your flour. In this particular case, where did I put it? I use 5 cups of flour, and this is when you start to see things flying everywhere when I'm cooking. Because again, I'm making a really, really big batch of pizzelles. And yes, I happen to be a fan of King Arthur with their flours. It's also because it's about the only place I can ever find aniseed. As you can see how accurate I am with measuring. But it works. I'm doing this for a long time. And I just drop it in here. That happens too. Obviously, they're not watching. And so, and again, if any of our members are watching and they have a better way of doing this that I'm messing up and I'm not getting flour everywhere, you can see now why I'm not in the kitchen and I'm in the office. So I mix this up real good, and this is our final batter. Now the other thing is, once I start putting the pizzelles into the iron, which is feeling pretty hot, I have one of these. This is our son's little baby spoon, and this goes back many, many, many years. But the size of it's just right to get the pizzelles to the size that I want. Because at the end of the day, if I can find any sitting around here, what we do, when I'm about the same size, because we package them up to look like this, and this is what we give as gifts to people. We do give real gifts too. But we've had enough people over the years ask us where my cookies are, and I'm presuming they were talking about these, that we get them for them. So we're all done. Next part is trying to get the batter off of the hook, which will take just a minute, but it looks good. And we'll scrape that off and get it into the bowl where it belongs. Hopefully everybody can hear me now, but we had to do some mixing. It's important. The next piece, which is really kind of the last step, is actually getting this part done and then making cookies. Now, you could be lazy and just throw this thing in the dishwasher, the hook, and I'm just cheap, and so I try to make sure that I get every last bit of batter off this thing as I possibly can before I wash it. So there we go. So we get all that off. Take my bowl off, lock that in place. And now it's time for the cookies. Now I know a lot of people that make these get frustrated because the very first cookie they make tends to stick, which is why I heat the grill as much as I do. So what I typically try and do is just get this little spoonful. Like I said, it's pretty much a baby spoon. Scrape it up so it's got, I don't know if you can see that, just a little bit over the top. Spoon the first one in. And get the second one. Spoon that in. Now, if you're really adventurous, you could buy 3 or 4 of these and find yourself going nuts. For me, this takes about 2 hours, and if it was about an hour from now, I'd have a glass of wine with me with this, but I don't. what I do is I squeeze the lid down on this little Cucina Pro pizzelle maker and let it really get good and tight. And it takes about 1 minute and 10 seconds, 1 minute and 15 seconds. And you can use a timer until you get used to it. You start doing this for 20 or 30 years, you discover that you pretty much know when it's ready. And if all works, in about another minute or so, I'll lift the lid and I'll have 2 wonderfully brown pizzelle cookies that are ready for the next batch that we're getting for the next group of friends and company. So let's just see how this works out. And of course, like I said, the other thing you can do if you time this right, if you do it later in the afternoon, nice glass of wine, put some Christmas music on or whatever holiday music you're listening to and enjoy yourself for the day. So, and who's that from? Caitlin, thank you very much. Hopefully everybody will like this. I won't embarrass anybody. So let's pop the lid open. All right, so the right thing happened. And voila, 2 perfectly made pizzelles, all ready to go. So we put them on the table. And what I'll do now for the next, and I won't bore you with this, for the next hour, probably hour and a half, I'll get through this much dough, get the cookies made up, have them ready for friends and family, and off we go with the presents. So let me just go through the recipe one more time and the important stuff about it. So starting off with some sugar. It's a cup of sugar. It is a stick of butter. I use the low-fat butter just because that's my preference. You know, get yourself a good-sized jar. We use J. Shree, but a good-sized jar of good, fresh aniseed. It's a lot easier than using the individual ones, trying to find the individual ones. Those are your core ingredients at the beginning. Then you're going to add to it your liquids, which are going to be your anise oil, 2 tablespoons of anise oil, 2 tablespoons of anise extract, 2 tablespoons of water, 2 teaspoons of vanilla, 2 teaspoons of almond, and they're all the extracts, obviously. And I put my little splash of amaretto in just because it's different, and that's not written down on my recipe, so whoever I leave this to when I'm long gone will probably never get it quite right, but they'll try. Once that's all together, then it's 6 eggs at room temperature. Mix all that up, make sure it's all mixed up real well. Then add your 5 cups of flour, sometimes a little less, a little more, it depends. And then also a tablespoon of baking powder. And that's it. Short and simple, mix it up good, make sure it's mixed well. As again, take your pizzelle iron, and again, I don't use the one with the non-stick surface because I just find that every now and then one of these will stick. I'll do something extraordinarily stupid when they stick. It's a bit of a pain. So, and I don't like scratching all that crap off into my food. So having it well seasoned now over the years, it works well. Minute 15 seconds per cookie. Lift the lid and take them off and just start cranking until you have yourself some really, really good holiday pizzelles. So that's it. This is Larry Lynch from the U.S. Personal Chef Association. I promise everybody by next week I'll go back to the office and I will get the heck out of the kitchen where I don't belong. But for all of those that enjoyed this, thanks so much. Enjoy the recipe. You want to give me some feedback on Twitter and let us know that it went well. I'd appreciate that. So thanks everybody as I spend the cookies across the room. Take care and we'll see you. Have a great holiday. Take care of yourselves.